or LM is joining us. Hey.
Hello.
Well, I was literally logging off, so you're catching me at the last minute. So what's going on? What's your question?
I just thought I would join the chat. I just saw your live thing here, so
Yeah.
I like your show.
You call it a show, huh?
Your video. I really don't like the live chat, but I don't know how many people is here and how many is listening to me. But the relationship thing, it is really like I just turned 62. I can't believe how bad it has been. I've moved to different states. I'm a veteran. I'm a lady that's been out there. I've got it together. I've worked on myself, and I'm just. I mean, no kids, no husband. It's totally unbelievable. Everything, and
Well,
you're hitting it.
Are you open? Are you open to unpacking that and having a conversation about it?
I don't have anything to hide. I mean, this is free, isn't it? It's open discussion.
Yeah, it's open discussion. This is live. It's recorded, so just so you know, I mean, it's out in the universe. So, communicate at your own risk kind of thing. So let's talk about what you just said, because I think what I'm hearing, for lack of a better word, it's a shit show out there from a dating perspective, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that you had moved in a few things. So let's start with, when was your last relationship?
Oh gosh, when I was in Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada, and that was probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your last relationship was
7. Yeah.
Okay. 7 to 10 years ago. Okay. And your last relationship, where did you two meet?
We met at a karaoke club.
Karaoke club. Okay. So kind of walk us through. You were doing karaoke. He was doing karaoke, I'm assuming, and you just connected there, right?
He walked up to me, took my hand, and said, "I want you to sing this song with me." And well, I was going to be moving from Las Vegas, and I told him that, but
yeah. Did you tell him that right then and there?
Well, I probably told him that early. I don't know if it was that first time when we met, that first night or not, but I did tell him that I was going to be planning on moving. I was not staying in Vegas.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So you met him at karaoke and he grabbed your hand and you got singing. You started singing. When was your first date from after that first meeting?
Everything went fast. I had another guy that I really liked that kind of ghosted me, and I wondered what had happened to him. And that was probably 6 months before that. And he was supposed to take me out on a date, and that never happened. And then come to find was working at a strip bar, and I just never heard from him again. So
okay, so let's go back to the karaoke guy. So you said it went fast. Does that mean you guys slept together really fast too?
We did. I kind of did that time with him just to kind
clear
of
the cobwebs,
heal the pain from the last one. Yeah.
Okay.
It was kind of like, it was just the best thing at the time. Yeah.
Okay, so was that a healthy thing for you to do, an unhealthy thing for you to do?
Well, he wound up not being a person I could stay with, and another person I needed to move on from because he was emotionally unhealthy, which.
Okay, but before we go there, I just want to go back to you entered into the relationship. It sounds like you knew you went in too fast. Even if he's driving the bus, you were going along with the ride, is right?
Right.
Do you take ownership of your part of moving too fast?
I did not have to go along with him, and I probably wouldn't have, but I did for those reasons, just needing to forget about the other guy. And I figured it probably wouldn't work out with us. I figured it wouldn't.
Okay, so let's keep going here for a second. So, all right, so you began a relationship with him, but there were some issues in the relationship, correct? And then how long did the relationship last?
went longer with him than I even wanted to go. It was it turned out to be a toxic relationship, about 7 months. And then
7
I
months.
told him I was to move on. He was not listening to my concerns about him talking. He started talking with his ex 3 months into the relationship,
Okay.
and we were having a sexual relationship. We were regularly seeing each other, and all the time we were together, and I was giving him all my time, even though I was going to move. I wanted it to work. I did. But he had been married 5 times.
Okay. So,
So
well, let's pause there for a second. You've been married 5 times. Did you even at any moment before? I mean, did you know that before you were physically intimate with him?
I don't know if it was before or not, because it was so long ago. I kind of wanted to put him out of my mind. But it does hurt when you have to, every time you have to move on from somebody. But I always give every relationship my best. I try to communicate with them, and then when they don't seem like they are concerned or care about to listen. And
Yeah.
he snapped at me when I mentioned to him it was not going to be good for our relationship if he was going to be talking to his ex-girlfriend that he had slept with, before. It
Yeah.
was not just
Well, but I want
I
to go
said,
back to this. I know, and please forgive me for interrupting. So I want to go back to you. You were aware very early on he'd been married 5 times. Does that give you any pause to go, I wonder why someone's been married 5 times? I mean, did you stop in that moment and go, maybe I want to find out why they've had 5 separate marriages? I mean, did you do that at all?
yeah, I asked him why. He said, I don't hold it against me that I've been married 5 times. I said I won't, but why were you married 5 times? I said it depends on somebody's actions and how they are doing things. Not, I'm not going to look at that. But he blamed it on the women. I mean, he just, he said,
Okay, so one of the self-love principles that I want to share that I shared in the longer part of this video, but I want to share that, and I'm now talking to everybody, LM. Okay, folks, when you are talking to someone new and they say, I've been married 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, okay? Or they've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 relationships, which the average person in midlife, anyone over 50 years old, there's a good chance have had 3 significant relationships. If it always is the other person's fault, if it's the other person's fault, they were an alcoholic, they were a drug addict, they were a cheater, they were a narcissist, I don't care what the fault is. If it's always the other person's fault, that's a gigantic, as Julianne just puts here. Someone put up like 15 red flags in the chat box. That is like a glaring siren going off. Nini, 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 nini. That's a siren. And quite frankly, red flag means ask more questions. But quite frankly, I'm here to encourage everyone to look at it as a deal breaker, because that probably tells us, oh, here's Julianne. She did it for us, okay? That tells us red flag, red flag, red flag, is that person probably doesn't take ownership of their part in the relationship, that they have weak relationship skills. And I'm just suggesting, again, you didn't know this, LM, but I'm just suggesting for everyone who's listening from this point on. Okay, let's move on. You knew about his 5 marriages. You still accepted him. It was a toxic relationship. It was 7, 8 months. You moved on. That happened 7 years ago. Okay, let's walk us through your dating history from this point going forward.
I have tried to get out. I've tried the dating sites. It just seems
Right.
like there's not much going on there. I just alleviated another person that was on the Christian dating site who was saying he was a Christian, but we were supposed to meet one time, and then he came up with a toothache. We had been texting for months and talked on the phone a few times. When somebody doesn't want to meet you, that's a red flag. I mean, I know there's red flags with people, and I move on, but I don't just jump and move on and jump with people. I did kind of move fast with that one guy for that one reasoning, and I figured it wouldn't last, you know, and I
Yeah.
saw the red flags. But
Okay, so let's go back to, okay, but I want to help you, okay, because you feel a bit disillusioned about the dating marketplace. And I understand that. By the way, I mean, you know, the reality is, you know, the reason why I call it the dating marketplace, I mean, I know that doesn't sound very romantic and sexy, but that's kind of what we're in, primarily because of our devices. You know, 65% of all new couples are meeting through a dating site or app. Okay. So, one of the challenges with online dating, LM, is that I will tell you that roughly 95% of the dating profiles by men and women, and it's really probably closer to 98%, is that they're so poorly done. The quality of the photographs, the quality of the way they ask the questions. And by the way, I'm putting you in this category of 98%. I suspect if I looked at your dating profile, number one, it was probably poorly curated. Just put that in a box for a second. So when we have poor effort by human beings, we're going to get poor results. Okay. So just so you know that. Okay. This is one of the reasons why, as a dating and relationship coach, one of the fundamentals of every dating and relationship coach is our job is to help you curate the most quality profile that gets better results. Okay. So I just want you to put that in a box for a second. You said you communicated with someone for several months and then he didn't initiate a date. How far away did he live from you?
well, he lived in Charleston, and that was like an hour and a half away, which I didn't feel was too bad. And so I was ready to see where it would go. I originally told him at the beginning it was kind of far, but we could try it. So I said we'll have to see if we could get to know each other and meet. I said that's how meeting and spending time is what we need to do. So we were supposed to meet. I stopped talking to him for a while and we fell out of touch, and we just got back in touch again because I was going to be moving again. But then things settled down, and I met back up with him again through texting. And I said, we need to meet, because that's how, and spend time together. That's how we're going to really know. So we were supposed to meet that next day, but then he came up with a toothache. So I said, okay. To me, that was a red flag.
So I want to jump in for a moment. And Julianne just points out he wanted a pen pal, not a romantic interest. So I have a simple rule of thumb to follow, and I'm sharing with everybody and for you. It's called 3, 2, 1, 3. 3, 2, 1, 3. Okay. When you connect with somebody who you could probably physically meet within an hour or an hour and a half away. In other words, your drive isn't more than about 50 miles. Okay. If that's the case, you'd simply have 3 email exchanges or text exchanges, depending on what platform you met. That is to generate 1 or 2 phone calls. So 3 text message exchange, move it to a phone call, 1 to 2 phone calls, and to 1 date, all in a 3-week period. And I'm going to do it this way, in a 3-week period. So 1 to 2 phone calls, okay, and 1 date within a 3-week period, okay? Within 3 weeks, you should meet. If anything longer than that, just say next. If somebody is so busy, okay, you are on a dating platform to meet people. That's the purpose of being on a dating platform. It's not about getting to know them per se. I mean, sure, you want to feel comfortable and you want to maybe spend a couple hours talking just to determine compatibility, but immediately meet because you don't want someone to waste your time. So coming back to this gentleman, he blew you off. Okay. You still seem disillusioned with dating. It sounds like you've almost given up. Is that right?
Well, it seems like I need to keep moving on from people because they don't show that they're really relationship material. They don't come through, or they do something, and it's like I need to move on. But we were supposed to meet again. The guy said he thought we had a lot in common. We had the same interests. He said he was wanting to get married. I said, well, let's wait. Let's not talk about that right now. But he was saying that he wanted to find someone to marry. He was a widow. He had a kid. The kid was grown up. I said, well, let's meet and see where it goes. And he kept doing the love words. And to me, that was a red flag from the beginning.
Okay. So let me ask you a question, and this is going to be a really tough question, and I'm sorry that I'm going to have to be harsh for a moment. Okay. Are we okay? Cool with that?
That's sure. That's fine. But it seems like there's something dysfunctional with for so long.
Yeah, but by the way, but I'm going to jump in here, and you're going to have a hard time accepting what I'm going to say. Okay. Have you looked in the mirror at your own dysfunction?
I believe in communication, and that's what I do with people. And I don't feel like I'm
going to repeat the question. Have you looked in the mirror at you said other people are dysfunctional. Have you looked at the mirror of your own dysfunction?
Yeah, I'm not, I deal with my issues. I don't have kids, and I don't have a marriage. I don't have healing that I need to do. I try to communicate with people. I'm seeing closed doors with like everywhere.
Okay.
I do look at myself, but I don't see that I'm doing anything wrong. I really don't.
Well, let me give you an example of something. You knew very early on, you had a chance when that relationship we were talking about, the one that man was married 5 times, you knew very early on that something was amiss in this relationship, but you kept staying in. That's not martyrdom. I mean, that's the way you can look at it, but that's a reflection of a lack of self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-love within yourself. If you watched the bulk of this video that I shot, it's all centered around learning to love yourself, because the best relationship you're ever going to have is the relationship within yourself. So, I'm inviting you to possibly take a break from dating and relationships 100% and start really working on yourself. You might think you're good at these things, but you're not but every time you find yourself in a circumstance, you accept behavior that's unacceptable, saying it's their fault, but then you have to ask yourself, why are you even accepting this behavior? That's the piece I want you to look at. I invite you to look at your past relationships. Were you ever married in your time, in your life?
No, but there was people I could have married, but I moved on because different reasonings. They weren't relationship material. They were not.
So then let me ask you a question. Why do you think you're a magnet for people who are not relationship material?
I stayed with that guy longer than the 3 months. After the 3 months, that's when I noticed. At the 3-month mark was when I noticed the phone call from the ex-girlfriend, when he had told me at the beginning, when I asked him, do you have anyone in your life? And he said no. And then at the 3-month point, we was in the car, and he got the phone call, and he said, this is from my ex-girlfriend. And I was like, well, you told me. Then I confronted him after, I said, you told me you didn't have anyone in your life. He said he didn't. And then when I told him that was not going to be good for us, I told him that I didn't want him talking to her, and he was not going to stop talking to her. But I went on another few months with him because I was fixing to move, and he was helping me do painting in because I had high cathedral ceilings in my house. Yeah. That's the only reason why I went another 4 months with him. I would have broke up with him then.
Okay. So I want to share with you, LM, and this was a video I did some years ago, probably about 5 years ago, was 7 ways women give their power away. And one of the ways they give a power away to a man is the relationship is on the man's terms. They abandon their standards and their boundaries. One of the fundamental principles of self-love is to really stick to your boundaries and your standards. And it sounds to me that throughout your relationship history, you abandon your boundaries, you abandon your standards, and you put the relationship on a man's terms. Okay. Number 2, you're afraid to speak your truth. Now, I suspect it sounds like you spoke your truth in these relationships. You spoke up. But when you spoke up, you abandoned your boundaries every single time, whether because they would either make excuses of some sort, and that's an abandonment of boundaries. Now, I will tell you one of the ways I notice women give their power away is when the relationship ends, they always focus on the man and not themselves. They are not nurturing themselves. Even in this dialogue right now, it's always about him. Genuine self-love, self-empowerment is always looking at what I could have done. What could I have done? Not to fix the relationship. What could I have done to set a better boundary? What could I have done to establish my standard? What could I have done? And to look inward, that's a self-love practice. But again, when it's focused on the man, that's giving your power away. Waiting for a man to initiate contact, to initiate the relationship, that's a very common thing women oftentimes do, needing excessive validation. Stop doing the life that you had before you met him, feeling like you can't live without him. I don't think that's something that you felt, but a lot of women, they give their power away by feeling like that's the only man that will ever love them, or thinking that's the only person in the universe that you'll have chemistry with. This is just some common ways women give their power away to men. I think in your case, and this is my invitation for you, this is my invitation for you, is to really look at your past relationships and examine your standards and your boundaries. And before you ever put yourself out in the dating marketplace, is to really embody that self-love practice, that inner sovereignty within yourself, that you won't accept bad behavior because you have this is not the first time you've experienced that. So there might be something within yourself that's causing you. And as Julianne says here in a comment, I feel the older we get, we make excuses for our boundaries list. I'll let that one slide. There's not too much out there at my age. And I'm here to encourage you, LM, to embody your sovereignty, to embody your power. And when you do that, you might find that a man will meet you where you're at. Does that resonate with you at all?
Well, didn't think that men was this bad, and I didn't want to think that, but they are. And I've just decided that going from now on, I am not.
So am I, by the way, am I a bad man?
No, I think that women should.
Men. So you know what? I took that personally. No, I just want you to know when you said that. I took that personally. No. And by the way, I'm not that sensitive. I'm only pointing this out. Be very careful. Be very careful with your languaging. When you say things like that, then every man that you meet will be that. One of the self-love principles that I talk about and I teach incessantly is to adopt the philosophy that it's raining great men, it's raining great men, it's raining great men. I'm inviting you to take that in for yourself and to say that there are a lot of amazing men out there. I just interviewed a couple last week on my channel, a great guy. I meet great men out there all the time. So I'm inviting you to shift your languaging right now, today. There are great men out there. If all you see is bad men, if I said to you, get on, I don't know where you live, but if I said red Toyota truck, you might see 1,000 red Toyota trucks because I plant it in your head. I'm inviting you to plant the seed. There are great men out there. Will you do that for me? Will you do that one thing for me?
Yes, I just think that I'm not going to let myself get involved sexually with anybody else until, I'm married. I've decided that. I mean, it's been one thing after another, and then you have sex with these people, and or they get you into having sex with them. I mean, the one guy, he just pulled me down into the bed. I mean, and it was just like that with the guy before this last one. But
well, I'm here to say, and we're going to wrap up in a moment, okay, LM. Let me just say this: set your standards, establish your boundaries, which you just did, and just cultivate a real, true self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-reliance, self-love practice for yourself. Will you do that for me?
I definitely am. I definitely like myself, and I'm a strong woman. I'm a veteran, and I'm retired, and I have morals and integrity, and I just don't want garbage. I'm not going to settle for less.
Okay.
I'm not.
Well, can I reach into the camera and give you a big hug?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
All right, Ellen. Thanks for being on. Okay.
Thanks
for being on. All right. Thank you. Appreciate you. Oh, sorry. I cut her off too soon. You know, LM was very sweet and she shared something very vulnerable. But I do want to point out, as she was sharing, I don't believe she's really taking ownership of her part in her past relationship. So I can understand her frustration with the dating game. I can understand her frustration out there. Yes, it can feel like the Hunger Games out there. But the most important principle that we talked about was the importance of setting your standards right from the get-go. Do a real vetting process of people. So when they say to you something like, I've been married 5 times, and letting that slide, that's really a glaring red flag, red flag, red flag, you know, as Maria just voiced to hear, red flag, red flag, red flag. And also to establish her boundaries. And that's and then lastly, to change her languaging. There are great men out there. Yes, there are a lot of men who are not very good people. And there's a lot of women that aren't good people. But I think in her particular case, the most important message, I'm inviting her to really look inward and say, how can I make better choices? How can I take ownership of my part in these relationships? And how can I cultivate a very strong self-love within myself, that self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, and set those standards and boundaries? Because when you set those standards and boundaries, and you invite in, it's raining great men, it's raining great men, it's raining great men, she might find herself in a circumstance that might bring her some joy. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this conversation. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, there's links below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. There's links to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. There's links to get my dating vows, and all the books I recommend are listed below. All right, we're going to wrap up this video with a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love, if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow, and give it or them a hug of love, because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. I want to thank everyone that donated, Annika, Julianne, and Debbie, as well as Lisa and Jade, and certainly LM for being brave to be on. We want to give you a lot of big props and hugs. Thanks so much. Everyone, wishing you all a super duper wonderful evening. Be well. Thanks. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye. Oh, LM says, I'm off the dating site show for now. Okay, there we go. And B says, thank you, LM. Thank you, Jonathan. All right, everyone, wishing you a wonderful evening. Be well. Thanks. Bye-bye now.